studios today because life be life. And hi, YouTube. Hi, Instagram. Hope everybody is doing well. Listen, we got a lot to get to. And as always, not a whole lot of time. In today's podcast episode, you're going to hear me talk more extensively about each of the things I'm going to mention in today's opening segment. But just know it's a lot to do. It's a lot to do. And I'm grateful that we get to do it together. You guys may recall that I often will say something along the lines of whenever we see the government practicing really egregious things against a subset of our communities, just know that they are practicing with that subset of the community so that they can perfect it against the rest of us. And we saw this a lot with the trans issues and issues around LGBTQ communities. In fact, what's so interesting is I ain't heard nobody upset about a drag queen story hour ever since the election. Ain't that funny how something that used to be so significant and important now we don't seem to hear about it no more. Just weird. But what we learned by watching how the Republicans move as it pertains to the issues of woke and trans issues, what we learned was that they will try something out against a group of people that they know not enough people care enough about to do anything to stop them. And then once they get that tacit permission to do that thing, they will then take that thing that they perfected and work it out as against the rest of us. And again, look at what happened in Florida with the LGBTQ community. They raised a whole lot of issues. They said, don't say gay, don't say woke. They was passing laws that would made it easier for them to discriminate against gay people. And a whole lot of people, including a whole lot of Black people, was cool with that because y'all don't like the gays. Why? I don't know. The gays ain't never did nothing to y'all, but I'm just saying a whole lot of people don't like the gays. And so everybody was okay with the gay community having their rights taken. And then when we realized, oh, snap, the very same tools that they're using to take the rights away from the gays, they're also using to take against us. Let's use a quick example. Remember that AP history course in African American history that was a really well put together program? And frankly, it shouldn't have been an AP program. It should have been a program that everybody was getting access to. Well, when they were beginning to roll that AP program out in states like Florida, what did they do? The people who were against this program, they went to members of the Black church. And we know this from our conversations with people who were on the ground in Florida, people who were as a part of the resistance community. But they went to the Black churches and they said, hey, man, actually, that's not the voice that they use. It was like, hey guys, we know that this AP Black American history course is coming and that you as a Black church would typically be inclined to support it. However, did you know that in this AP history course, which only the AP students are going to get anyway, did you know that there's also a section on the Black gays? Because yeah, Black gay people do exist. And so and it wasn't even a mandatory section, it was an optional section that was a part of the AP history program. And then what had happened? What had happened was they were able to get the Black church members in a tizzy, not all of them, but enough of them to basically encourage and enlist the support of Black religious communities to prevent the rollout of an AP history course. And so now nobody gets the AP history course, not the Blacks, not the gays, not the Black gays, not anybody else who needed that program, because they were able to use a subset of the population to create a system of policies that people were okay with. And then what happened after that? Oh, right. In addition to now we ain't getting no AP history course, guess what else we ain't gonna get? We ain't gonna have no books in the libraries that talk about Black people, because y'all didn't have a problem when they was banning the books against the trans community. And it's the same legal principle. So now that the trans community don't get no books, you Black people don't get no books either. No more woke, no more gay. Ain't everybody happy? That's how these things work. And so when we see elected officials actually doing the job of engaging in oversight and doing the work of protecting communities, it's important that we realize when they are under attack and that we stand up and say something. LaMonica McIver is one of the congressional representatives who was with Mayor Ras Baraka last Monday when they were being, actually last Monday is when Mayor Ras Baraka came on our show. 2 Mondays ago, Mayor Ras Baraka came on the show to talk about his arrest. You may recall that he and a number of congressional representatives were assaulted while they were providing oversight capacity at Delaney Hall. Delaney Hall is this institution that has been taken over by a private prison group, which already lets you know it's a problem. The private prison group's name is Geo Group. If you got stocks in Geo Group, I'm gonna need you to figure out your financial situation and your support for economic enslavement, but that's another conversation for another day. But basically, Mayor Ras Baraka, Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman, Congresswoman LaMonica McIver, and a number of others, all of whom are Black. All of whom are Black. They went down to Delaney Hall because Delaney Hall has been a location that is now being used as an ICE facility in contravention of New Jersey law. They ain't got no certificate of occupancy. They don't know how many people is being housed in there. That building ain't had a certificate of occupancy issued in the past 20 years. And so Mayor Ras Baraka, who has oversight capacity over this facility because it sits in his district, the congressional representatives who are doing their job of overseeing ICE facilities, which is literally a part of their mandate, they go down to Delaney Hall. And we all know what happened. They get roughed up, they get tussled up. Mayor Ras Baraka is arrested. He then faces charges. But then we find out this week the charges against Mayor Ras Baraka are dropped. Curious, because at the same time that they dropped the charges against Mayor Ras Baraka, they file felony charges against LaMonica McIver, who is a congressional representative who was also there in her official capacity. Now, one thing about LaMonica McIver, when you look at the video, she's easy to spot. She's in a bright red blazer. Easy to spot. And what you see is a Black woman who is going to work very calmly, communicating to the cameras, communicating to the people, because it's all filmed, it's all on tape. And she's very calmly explaining their oversight capacity. And then we saw an example of what the popos and what 5 often do in our communities. They come, everybody calm, everybody peaceful. Ain't nobody bothering nobody. But then here come 5 and here come 5 brawling, upset, aggressive, and agitating a situation that don't need to be agitated. Chill, son. We good. Like, don't nobody need you to be doing all that, but that's what they do. And what they do in our communities when they show up, ain't nobody bothering nobody. Now, sometimes they show up because somebody is bothering somebody, but they make it worse. They make it worse. That's what they did in this situation. So we can see on video where it shifts from LaMonica McIver, the congressional representative for this district, and the other congressional representatives are calmly communicating, and then ICE gonna do what them thugs gonna do. And they basically rough them up. Now, guess who facing federal charges, felony federal charges? LaMonica McIver, congressional representative for this district. So keep in mind that what they do to Black elected officials, just know that we already know that they're gonna do it to the rest of us. Just know that right now, the Department of Justice is weaponizing their efforts to go after Black people, and they're not stopping with official titles. Now, that's the first thing you need to know about today. But what you also need to know about what's happening today is the following. Have y'all seen these videos of congressional representatives in the wee hours of the night, yawning and tired and trying to keep their eyes open as they do the hard work of laboring at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning? Now, these are not people who are famous for hard work, but the fact that they're having hearings at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning should raise some eyebrows. And my eyebrows are raised because why? The hearings that they are having at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning is all about cutting off every single bit of the social safety net that each of us have. We have seen that they have been having these conversations. And remember, the reason they're trying to cut these social safety net programs, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, food stamps, affordable healthcare programs, after school programs, federal housing programs like Section 8, all these programs, the reason they're trying to cut these programs is because Republicans as a governing policy are mean. They're mean. Their policies are mean. They don't like humans. They don't like helping humans unless they can profit from it. That's how they have been ever since the Great Depression, when social safety net programs first got implemented. And so this is par for the course. This is really just Reaganomics with a Project 2025 slant to it. But basically, they've been meeting at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning because they know we sleeping, and they know you're not going to be able to find out what's happening. But I'm going to tell you what's in this bill. And we're going to continue to talk about what's in this bill going forward. According to CNN and just about every other outlet that's reporting it, they are planning to now slash the number they're going to slash have grown even more than what they were before. Nearly $1 trillion from 2 major programs, Medicaid and food stamps. That means you're going to get $1 trillion cut out of your ability to get health care and your ability to get food stamps. As somebody who grew up and experienced life on food stamps and having to do public health care, this is a problem. I find that this is a problem. More than 71 million people are enrolled in Medicaid, and roughly 42 million Americans get food stamps. That's nearly half the country. That's nearly half the country in terms of numbers. Hospitals are also going to face the impacts because if Medicaid cuts get cut, then even those of us who have job-based insurance, guess what's going to happen? Our job-based insurance rates are going to increase because the numbers that Medicaid was providing to hospitals is going to get slashed. And the hospitals are corporations, and because we do not have health care for the people, we got health care for the wealthy in this country. What that means is hospitals are going to either raise their rates or they're going to close. A significant number of them are going to close in rural communities. Now, that means Black people definitely, but it also means white people. And we need to be clear that even though the whites should be very upset about this, that historically the whites have been perfectly content to allow themselves to die if it meant that they were going to not give help to Black people. And that's factual. What is that book called? Dying of Whiteness, where historically white Americans have said, we don't need health care, Glim and Vern. We don't need teeth in our mouth. We don't need dental care, vision care, body care, nothing. We don't need nothing. God damn it. Because if we get something, it means the Blacks are going to get something too. Well, then damn it, the Blacks are just like us and we can't have that. We'd rather die. And so they know that the Republicans are not going to turn around and vote in any meaningful ways to punish them. And so it's going to depend on everybody else. So in addition to cutting SNAP, and Medicaid and food care. We're also realizing that grocery stores are going to have a problem because grocery stores get a significant portion of their funding from poor people who rely on programs like SNAP. So when the grocery stores are already facing tariff increases, when they're already facing the inability to store their shelves, if these cuts go through, that means they're going to have to raise prices even more because the poor people who used to be able to go grocery shopping are no longer going to be able to go grocery shopping. They'll be panhandling in the parking lots outside because they ain't going to have enough money to come in. We're also seeing that it's extremely evil because this first round of cuts is just the first round. In addition to the 10 million people, more than 10 million people who are going to lose healthcare coverage thanks to the Republicans, there's an additional 15 million people who will also lose their healthcare coverage because they're shifting the way the Affordable Care Act works, which is Obamacare. And then in addition to that, there's an additional 7.6 million people because it's not just Medicaid, it's also Medicare that they're going at, and it's also Social Security that they're going after. And frankly, the magnitude of losses that they are looking to implement is more than they have ever cut before. So what does this mean? It means you got to get on the phone. It means you got to call your elected officials. You got one congressman, you got two senators. That means you need to go on the 5 Calls app. It's literally called 5 Calls. 5 Calls. Go on the 5 Calls app, find the issue that's related to the budget cuts. It will give you a script. It will explain everything to you in very plain language, far slower than the speech rate at which I'm using right now. And it makes it very easy for you. They know the Republicans are okay with dying. They're cool. The Republicans are not going to punish them in any meaningful way, Republican voters. And so it's on the rest of us, those of us who voted correctly in November and those of us who didn't vote at all. Because, baby, whether you voted or not, whether she was black enough for you or not, you know what's going to happen? Your costs for everything finna go up. And if those of you who have people in nursing homes, who have people in assisted living facilities, just know that when they cut these social service programs, your loved one is still going to have to stay in that facility, but you're going to have to pay for it out of your own pocket. Give them a call. In fact, I meant to have this number up. Hold on. Congress switchboard. I meant to have this up already. The switchboard number to reach your congressional representatives, if you don't have the 5 Calls app, hold on, is 202-224-3121. That's 202-224-3121. You better call these people. You better at them on their social media. Make their lives a living fucking hell because they are perfectly content to do whatever they can in the dead of night to make sure that yours is. We got to go to commercial break. On the other side of it, Imani Gandhi will be joining us. We're going to be addressing in depth this situation with Adriana Smith, who they are basically, Republican policies are now using her as a zombie because the Bride of Frankenstein is something that they actually thought was credible and it was a vision for what we should have in the future. Much more to come on the Lurie Daniel Favors Show. We'll be right back after this.